a 5-0 win at the Bonnyrigg Sports Club. Joe Guest, Chris Lucas, Wade Decker and Daniel Clark grabbing a double to make up the scorers. But since then, it's been a bit of a difficult time for them in the league and in the State Cup, the Doherty Cup in Victoria. They've lost back-to-back games in the lead up to the fixture tonight, which is something we can't say about Brisbane City. Just one loss in their last 7, and of course, pretty impressive come-from-behind win against Coburn in the round of 32 at Perry Park. Yuta Hirayama, Sam Sibatuara and Brandon Reeves scoring the goals on that night and scoring some quality goals. Brisbane City under Matt Smith have got a real habit of scoring bangers, it seems.
Well, he was a very talented player, obviously, but he was a defender, really stout defender for Brisbane Roar in their glory days. But in an attacking team and with a lot of attacking instincts himself, possession-based player, part of that under Ange Postecoglou, very most certainly, and carrying that into his coaching career, which is taking nice shape for Matt.
So we've got a change of hands here for home and away sides. It's Brisbane City in the light blue, who have moved across to the left of your screen, and Oakley Cannons playing in this new look, deep, as deep a navy as could possibly be, with the gold trims attacking the left-hand side of your screen in this opening half. So we will have one of these NPL sides in the quarterfinals. Well, let's see which one it ends up being. It's Brisbane City who get us underway. And a long ball forward, dealt with by Anthony Pantazopoulos. Interesting to see Wade Decker slotting in at left back, the second top goal scorer in the NPL Victoria. A bit of a makeshift role for him tonight.
Well, it's that time of the season, really, isn't it? People are going to have to be able to and be prepared to pick up their tools and move to serve the interests of the team.
Well, there's plenty of injuries for Oakley, but it is a full-strength Brisbane City looking to do some damage. Here's a touch for Fraser Hills, cutting across the face, and Kai Bolton with an early sider, deflected on the way out for our first corner of the evening. And up march the tall timber for the Azzurri. Daniel Bowles, another former Brisbane player, hurdling his way over. It's taken short. First time delivery from Cato, and Williams misses it at the back post. Oakley finally able to clear their lines. Intercepted by Jordan Simpkin. Jackson Simpkin, rather. Looking for Hirayama, and Aaron Williams and Matt Fascini. The two A-League heads knocking theirs together to get lines clear for Oakley. The wind, as you might be able to hear in the background on the effects microphone, is pretty blustery here at Jack Edwards, probably favouring the right-hand side of screen in this first half, so the end towards which the Azzurri are attacking. That's a great first-time ball, looking over the top for Joe Guest from Chris Lucas. The line from Bowles. Decker leaves his pass a little bit short, and here comes Fraser Hills, threading it through the path for Hirayama, the early chance. Oh, and a nervy moment for Nick Feely. He made the save, but the ball nearly trickled under his midriff, and an early reprieve for the undermanned Cannons.
Well, it's a good bit of work in the end for the goalkeeper. It was Wade Decker who was looking very nervous as he gave the ball away with that back pass. Fraser Hills intercepting nicely. Great chance for Brisbane. Certainly set the early pace in the opening couple of minutes.
Oh, lovely first touch from Chris Lucas. Not so from Wade Decker, but he's kept the ball alive. Under pressure from Sibatuara. Scored an absolutely stunning goal in the round of 32 to give Brisbane City the lead against Coburn. Matt Smith will be hoping for more of the same tonight. Here's Wade Decker. Aaron Williams on the ball. Part of the series of Williams siblings. Reese and twin brother Ryan. Oakley starting to build their first bit of possession play. Decker Little reverse pass is in search of Joe Guest, and it's cut back into the face. And Oakley Cannons have opened the scoring. And would you believe it, it's Nick Niagoran who does it for them. He's played all of 68 minutes in the league, and he is reeling away with the final touch, and the undermanned Oakley side have got the lead.
Well, it's a horrible miscalculation by one of the most experienced players on the field, Daniel Bowles. Just outsmarted as he looked to dummy the ball over for a goal kick. Guest not falling for the feint and chasing the ball down to the byline, cutting it back for the easiest of tap-ins. 3 or 4 minutes in. And Nick Niagoran makes it 1-0 for Oakley.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. An unlikely source, but an important goal for Oakley. It gives them the lead, and really credit must go to Joe Guest, because he didn't give up on that ball. He very easily could have when he saw Daniel Bowles was first to the scene of the crime. And he kept charging after it, and it allowed him to set up Nick Niagoran for the opening goal. And that will be sweet relief, you'd imagine, for Chris Taylor. And here's Niagoran on the charge again. Just hesitating for a moment, a little stop and prop. And that goal seems to have really unsettled Brisbane City, caught them absolutely by surprise, and not least Daniel Bowles.
Well, it makes you think already about that save from Nick Feely, Lockie.
Indeed.
A couple of minutes in, the picture changed completely. A nervous escape for Oakley, and now with a goal to their name and a really promising opportunity again from another Brisbane turnover.
Oh, Matt Smith said he was wary of the attacking threat that this Oakley Cannon side posed. They have scored 58 goals in the NPL Victoria this season, but I don't think he was expecting them to be walked towards attacking openings quite that easily, especially not from Daniel Bowles. Joe Guest moving on the spin, and Riley Stent in the Brisbane net. Cut a nervy figure for a brief second there.
Might momentarily join you up on the bench there, Lockie, for the extra 3 foot of elevation.
It all counts.
I don't know if the bench will hold me. I hope you've got your OH&S all up to scratch. Joe Guest has been impressive to start. I was watching him closely in the warm-up for Oakley, and he was central to all the energy that was part of Oakley's preparation, and he's really taken that onto the field to start this one.
He is, technically speaking, in Victorian terms, the reigning Football Victoria gold medalist all the way back in 2019 now.
Yeah, right.
But technically still the incumbent. Brisbane City, the team charged with putting together a response. You wouldn't put it past them, certainly not. They've been in such good form in NPL Queensland of late. Just the one loss in their last few fixtures. A 4-0 win, albeit over bottom place side Capalaba on Sunday in the NPL Queensland.
But they've got great firepower.
Oh, absolutely.
Certainly not out of this one. Danny Bowles in possession now. He's culpable for the first goal, but in Fraser Hills, he's a known quantity at this level, having won the Mike Cockerell medal. Or been awarded, I should say. Here I am as a handful.
That ball is just going to trickle out of play. No danger to the Cannons' defence. Trying to chase it down is Sam Sibachwara,
who also does catch the eye. You've already referred to him a couple of times, but his battle with Wade Decker on this near touchline will be a key one. If Brisbane can get back into it, don't be surprised if it's by the overlapping power of Sibachwara.
And those wing-backs on either side are so key to the way that Brisbane City like to play. Sibachwara loves to chip in the goals, and meanwhile Kai Bolton on the other side has 7 goals in his last 4 games in NPL Queensland. So that wide threat, they do have to do a lot of work up and back, but when it works well. Defending for them at the moment. Anthony Pantasopoulos scanning the field of play. Maybe should spend a bit more time assessing his options. Brisbane City Possession through Scott Halliday. There's Koji Kato. Nice piece of interplay between Brisbane and now Hirayama on the charge, but Nick Feely alert to the danger in behind posed by Yuta Hirayama.
Yeah, it's a good combination from Brisbane City.
Sibituara shifting one way then the other. Now recycled by Roman Hoffman. Nothing doing in the end. Yuta Hirayama is a live wire forward in this makeshift Oakley defence. They're going to have to watch out for him all day because it's not just a penalty box threat when you talk about Yuta Hirayama. He can score goals from just about anywhere on the pitch. I mean, I spoke to Matt Smith earlier this week and he said, I've got a striker that can score Van Basten goals.
Yeah, right. Wonder what he's doing at Spencer Park then.
Here's Oakley coming forward through Chris Lucas. Through the legs of one. Round another. Now Decker delivering. Niagoran again. The target at the back post. Fashini. Decently shaped cross, but no one there to attack it. And Sibituara, aware of Chris Lucas on his shoulder, heads away for an Oakley corner. Decker standing over the delivery. Sent it in towards the near post. The flick on there from Clark, and unbelievable. Nick Niagoran has doubled his money. The man who wasn't expected to start is playing an absolutely pivotal role in the ebb and flow of this game. Oakley now 2 up against Brisbane City.
Well, it's a pretty routine sort of goal. Brisbane City had players at the near post, but importantly couldn't get to the ball. It's a great flick on. And securing his brace is Nick Niagoran from a cumulative distance out a goal of about 4 yards. 2 tap-ins, one with his foot, one with his head, and he's no shrinking violet either. He's a big target man. And 10 minutes in to this round of 16 cup match, he's got 2 to his name. Fantastic.
Absolutely incredible. Another great Australia Cup story. And look, they have been from, as you said, Harps, a cumulative distance of a couple of metres, but that hasn't stopped the smile from bearing down on Chris Taylor's face, who, I'll tell you, is not usually the most outwardly emotive person. This is a big task beset upon Brisbane City now.
Yeah, well, it's just horrible defending from Matt Smith's team to be in this position. They've played quite brightly with the ball. The combinations have been impressive, but really 3 sights at goal in the opening 10 minutes, or 3 sights at the penalty area, really, from Oakley, and they've got 2 goals.
Well, I mean, really, if you actually look at it, if you take the set pieces out of the equation, they've probably, Brisbane City, created the best chance of the game in open play.
Yeah.
It's not just open play football. Set pieces, your own defensive mistakes do count. So, Brisbane City are a side who absolutely have got goals in them. Scored 3 or more 10 times in all competitions. Oakley have done the same thing 15 times, so you wouldn't be surprised to see Brisbane rally. And this one could well be a goal fest. Want to get a route back into the contest sooner rather than later. Sibituara, we know he can curl them, and Hirayama at full stretch to try and divert it goalward. In the grateful arms of Nick Feely is where the play ends. So we see the rain start to trickle down across the pitch. And it's Oakley Cannons in control inside the opening phases, at least on the scoreboard. Touch for Fashini. 50 caps for Melbourne victory back in 09 and 013. He was part of the Oakley Cannons side that actually made the quarterfinal stage back in 2015. Hard to believe that's 7 years ago now that we last saw Oakley on the national stage. And he looks like, at least at the present scoreline, still plenty of football left to be played. He might return this Cannon side to that stage of the competition. There's Kato on the ball. Another nice bit of interplay. Simpkin went up the line looking for Bolton. Niagoran, the workhorse up top, doing his defensive, or his physical due diligence, I should say. And that out ball to the big man up top is proving very fruitful for Oakley at present. Sibatuara, Hills using the outside of the foot to control, showing a bit too much of it, although that pass a bit too hot in the direction of Hirayama. You do get the sense, though, if that final ball just calmed down the juice on it a little bit, Yuta Hirayama could be in with more than a few opportunities to get a lifeline for Brisbane. Decker. Right in the line, looking for Lucas, and now Kubalay is picking up the pieces in behind. Decker coming away from a collision with the ball. Niagoran on the swivel, now delivering. Clark has to double back at the back post. Nice little back heel. The overlap for Fashini. The delivery again. Lucas is there, and Nick Niagoran, you're almost expecting three.
It's got that feeling about it. In what would be a great Mike Cockrell medal moment. A hat-trick inside 15 minutes.
Absolutely. From
someone who's played an hour of NPL football.
Oakley looking in the groove when they get that chance to break.
They do look good. It's been a good start to the match. Really, really entertaining opening 15 minutes. Great speed and intensity from both teams.
Frenetic. Frenetic. And Matt Smith striding the touchline at the moment. Maybe wondering if he could potentially sub himself on later on in this game. I've seen Queensland teams do it in the past. Scott McDonald with Gold Coast Knights last year. Sway Decker has lost out. Sibatuara has Hirayama waiting at the back stick over his head. And Daniel Clark dropping deep to win the loose ball. Former Brisbane City player. Here's Daniel Clark, Queenslander, born in Brisbane. Playing against a familiar side. Now it's the Englishman, Joe Guest. Launches that ball in the Chris Lucas direction. Down he goes under the challenge of Jackson Simpkin. Tonight's referee, Tim Danaskos. Let's play continue. Cato. Brisbane City just settling on the ball. Hills again with a heavy touch. Holmes. Fashini, very active up and down that right flank. Now Aaron Williams is going to have a little charge. Niagoran, deflection breaks kindly for Chris Lucas, and the little snapshot. Nothing more than some catching practice for Riley Stent.
It's a sharp effort though from Lucas. It's not easy to do that. The ball flying in. Those windy conditions makes it difficult. Now there's a little dusting of rain, which is going to make the beautiful playing surface that little bit more greasy. And Lucas controlled adequately and shot impressively on the turn.
Matt Smith will be well aware of the threat that Chris Lucas poses in the Oakley attack. NPL Queensland goal scorer extraordinaire. Back in the day, I think he hit 35 in one season for the Palm Beach Sharks. Went on trial with Brisbane Roar back in the Matt Smith days. Definitely remembers Chris Lucas, although striker and centre back, I'm not sure he'd remember him fondly. Here's Sibatuara breaking down the right. Delicate little ball. Here's Hills, and the double coverage from the Oakley defence. Enough to stop the shot before it troubled Nick Feely.
Beautiful work from Fashini. Sliding in again, nice build-up. Sibatuara is really dangerous. In fact, down either flank, they are a little bit exposed in transition, Brisbane City. When those fullbacks, wide fullbacks push up, leaving 3 at the back, and the transition from Oakley from defence to attack is sharp enough, then Brisbane City are in real trouble. But that was good coverage from Matthew Foschini then to deny Fraser Hills a telling effort on goal.
Oakley just organising their lines here as Fraser Hills gets set to deliver. One arm aloft. It's a searing delivery. Cato digs it out at the back post. Nearly worked out for Fraser Hills, and Wade Decker hacks away for an Atsuri corner. Trying to be Hills towards the back post. Simpkin attacking it. Feely with a brief spillage, but away by Oakley. Halliday across the face, and Daniel Clark. He thought about going for the header. He was like, no, the goal kick will suit me just fine.
Well, it was good awareness. It's unfortunate from Halliday. Brisbane City had still good players forward, but not quite sure what he saw or thought he saw there. But there was certainly no Brisbane City player within cooee of that intended delivery. Pressure off for Oakley. The chilled, gathered crowd nevertheless enjoying what they're seeing here, Lockie. It's been a good cup tie.
And you can see them at home in the background, all huddled very tightly, or for the most part underneath the grandstand here at Jack Edwards Reserve. I'm sure many of them have had the chance to tuck into a pre-match soothe. Very much a delicacy here. I understand you've been promised one at halftime.
Yeah, and never say no. You're looking forward to that.
Here's Lucas getting a ball towards the edge of the box. Daniel Clark with the miscontrol. Now Simpkin releasing for Halliday. Brisbane City have done well to switch the focus of this attack. Hills given a task up against Anthony Pantasopoulos. His clearance is only as far as Halliday. Sibituara driving, creating the angle. It's a beautiful reverse pass for Hirayama! And he's been threatening all night. Finally, he delivers. Yuta Hirayama. And Brisbane City have got their lifeline.
Well, the game has been pivoting a little bit on this. Brisbane pumping forward with their wide attackers. And if they could make the cut through on that basis, and it's Sibituara with a beautiful reverse pass. Jeez, that's clever. An unerring finish from Hirayama to give Brisbane City a lifeline. So much football to be played, thank goodness. This has been a ripper 20 minutes in. What a great goal.
It was a game that promised goals in the lead up. And not even 23 minutes into the contest, it's already well and truly delivered. Unbelievable reverse pass from Sam Sibituara. He would have been maybe a touch nervous there on the breakthrough, Yuta Hirayama, because he had the ball go under Nick Feely as he did earlier, that previous chance. At that time it didn't quite work out, but that one nudging the back of the net. And now Brisbane City are in the groove. It's Hills launching the step-overs. Have to do a little bit more than that to outwit the experienced Aaron Williams. And that frenetic energy not showing any signs of dissipating at the moment.
Well, the Brisbane approach puts a lot of pressure on the back three. And they've handled that pressure in transition. Where they've crumbled is in the more routine defending to concede the 2 goals. But it's a very brave away performance from Brisbane City so far. They've yielded a goal, got themselves back in the game.
Yeah, they haven't had an answer yet for Nick Niagoran. Knocks that one to Decker, and now Chris Lucas is released with men in the penalty area, and none of them located. That time, Daniel Bowles, no trouble doing his defensive job. Niagoran for Lucas. Kubalay. Patient play from the Cannons. Does it deliver an attacking chance? Well, the answer is no. Kai Bolton all too happy to let that one trickle out for an away side throw. But the combination play from both sides so far, particularly in those wide areas, has been pleasing on the eye. There is Kai Bolton just marching away from the scene of the crime. Sibituara starting to come alive on that right flank. Shimmying, shaking, delivering, and away. Here's the ball by Anthony Pantazopoulos.
That's good enterprise again. And is ostensibly a left-footed player, Sibituara, but quite unconventional from a lefty is that he's pretty comfortable with his right foot as well. But really that cut-in, playing on the right-hand side, and to be so adept on your left foot, in fact to favour your left foot, provides that opportunity to cut in, which he did magnificently to provide the goal. He started really well, as have all the players on show. A couple of mistakes from Brisbane's defence, but otherwise the performances from both teams across the field been very, very good.
He's no stranger to Victorian football, Sam Sibituara. He's played at Jack Edwards for Dandenong City back in 2019. It was a brief stint that broke up what's been a much longer relationship and a very happy one with Brisbane City. Part of that core who helped them get promoted back into NPL Queensland for this year. Going undefeated, 100% record in FQPL last season, which is just unheard of, really, to not lose or draw a single game.
Well, they were a club that was rocked by their relegation the year before, and there was a lot of blood spilt in that, or blood hemorrhaged in that really bad campaign that saw them relegated. But they've chastened the organisation, people involved, rebuilt, reorganised, and this is much more like the Brisbane City of their own history.
Tyson Holmes, there's a player familiar with that history, as here comes Roman Hoffman. Former teammate and now charge of Matt Smith. Speaking of charges, here's Daniel Clark breaking down the right-hand side. Fashini with the miscontrol. Rain has kicked up a gear here as ball's turned over deep by Brisbane City. Niagoran scrapping to maintain it as a Cannons possession. Tyson Holmes riding the challenge, not locating a teammate. Fashini knocked down by Niagoran. Double deflection, breaks kindly for Decker. And now Guest, another teasing cross. And away at the first time of asking by Daniel Bowles, who looks now to have recovered from that early defensive lapse. Oliver Kubalay interchanging with Chris Lucas. He's got Scott Halliday trying to charge him down. No surprise there's a quick release of pass. And Daniel Clark has kept that in play. Fashini recycling and, well, not the desired contact, to say the least.
Tad over ambitious from Fashini.
Riley Stent getting set to take his goal kick. He's thrust in to the senior fold back in 2020 after then keeper Bon Scott copped an injury and has now played both of Brisbane City's Australia Cup games. A good battle in recent months with regular first choice Jiro Dragicevic. Almost feels like an eternity since we last had a goal. It's not the case, though. It has been breakneck stuff, and we might see more. I might have spoken it into existence. Here's Hirayama charging down, and Nick Feely does well to cut the angle. Although Brisbane City pressing their case again. Sibatuara thwarted by a great challenge from Oliver Kubalay. And I guess that's a good lesson for me, Harps. Be careful what you wish for.
Well, you wish for goals. I wouldn't be ashamed of that, Lockie. Great chance. Another good bit of work from Feely in goal. That's two really important saves. One at 0-0 and now defending the 2-1 lead. Excellent work, really. He had everything, and he's taken his own defender out there as well. But for all money, it was Brisbane drawing level at that point. Great save.
Does seem clear from the early showings that Nick Feely has been doing his homework on Yuta Hirayama. He's been more than willing to advance off that line to cut the Japanese attackers' space out on those breaks. But for that one blush, he's won more of the one-to-one battles than he's lost.
Yeah, and look, I don't know that you could necessarily pin any blame on him for the goal that was scored. I mean, the striker took it the first time of asking. No touch for the keeper to get himself set. Just couldn't react in time, and it's always advantage to the striker if you can manage to get yourself into that situation. But he's done really well, Feely, to save those goals, as has Hirayama. Really caught the eye.
Anthony Pantazopoulos, the player who was receiving injury treatment, still on the sidelines at the present moment. Keep an eye out on his well-being. Just for the moment, Brisbane City will play with a man advantage. Oakley not exactly in a position where they can afford to be losing more numbers. That one is just going to... You can see the influence of the elements there as that one skids out of Yuta Hirayama's potential control.
And Matt Smith from the sidelines, whilst he's obviously primed his team to push forward and to attack, he also doesn't want the rush of blood. A little bit impatient there, that ball forward.
And in the meantime, Anthony Pantazopoulos back out onto the field, and that will be of some relief. So Chris Taylor. Down goes Matt Jones under the challenge of Chris Lucas. Players who no doubt would have crossed paths in years gone by in the NPL Queensland. Both played for Gold Coast City or Palm Beach Sharks. Jonesy going on that 2015 run with the Sharks. Here he is on the ball, distributing on the throw for Cato. Can't exact the interplay with his teammate Nick Niagoran, bringing the one-man press. Now Clark taking the ball in his stride. Kubalay. Niagoran always second best, although still alive for Oakley. It's a poor clearance from Matt Jones, and Riley Stent thought he kept that one in play. The linesman saw differently, and Oakley have won themselves a very cheap corner. If you could give him a goal kick for effort, Riley Stent, he certainly would have earned himself one. Well, he's got a corner to defend now. It's away at the first time of asking, and now the spectacular acrobatic effort coming from surprise provider in Anthony Pantazopoulos. Well, we've had some spectacular occurrences already in this game. A perennial substitute scoring. We nearly had a centre-back with a bicycle kick. Guest chasing that one down. Charging down the line. He's got Niagoran filtering through to the penalty area. We know his delivery is decent. He does find Niagoran, and what a save that is from Riley Stent. Nick Niagoran, a hat-trick. Was so close.
That's a great save, really. And it was screaming hat-trick, wasn't it, Lockie? It was just screaming hat-trick. It's a great ball from guess who? Guest again. And Niagoran was that close to a hat-trick.
There might be another chance in the offing for him. The tall timber most likely at this corner, which again is towards that near post. This time Brisbane City can clear. And a foot race between Tyson Holmes and Fraser Hills. I feel like we haven't quite seen the best out of Fraser Hills so far. He's got a high ceiling. I mean, maybe Brisbane City will be hoping that he can deliver a bit more as this game rolls on. There's no doubt, as you said earlier, Harps, that there is a whole lot of quality in the boots of Fraser Hills.
Concentration time now for Brisbane City. Defending set pieces hasn't been their strong suit. They've looked a little rickety. Second goal came from a poorly defended corner. 2 or 3 other occasions, they just haven't looked quite convincing from the set piece defensively. Let's see what they can muster here, Brisbane City. Be more convincing.
Guest delivery, near post, flicked on. Aaron Williams off the crossbar, and Brisbane City, well, eventually able to bring it back under control. And that goal of Riley Stent living a charmed life in the last couple of moments. Might present an opposite chance in the opposite direction for Brisbane, but not to be off the pass from Cato.
We've got an answer. Brisbane's set piece defending wasn't rock solid. And within 30 seconds, they've come very close on 2 occasions to conceding a third. Crossbar saves them on the second occasion. Stent brilliantly saving from Niagoran. Just before that.
Armour in that battle with the man who just went so close to finding a third for Oakley, Aaron Williams. Guest, whose influence on this game is growing and growing. He's been a provider. He wants to turn scorer, but not to be that time. He is having a right old game so far, Joe Guest. Definitely some work for Messrs. Hoffman and Halliday. Try and work out how they can limit his influence. Clark and Stent is going to deal with that pretty comfortably. Distributed quickly. This is going to have to be.
She's had a lot on it, that. It flew out of the hands. Picked up by the breeze and then skidded off the pitch. Sabatawara had very little chance of reeling that one in.
You could hear in the background, he wasn't overly grateful with the the weight of the throw. Fashini searching for Niagoran, who does get head to ball. Guest looping it up for Tyson Holmes. Fashini. Chris Lucas nodding it down, and Matt Jones gets it clear. Niagoran between a rock and a hard place. 2 defenders on his shoulders. Kubalay. Great little pass down the lines. Bowles half cleared, and then more convincingly the second time around. The offside flag was up. So the clearance, the defensive duties of Daniel Bowles, a moot point in the end. Hoffman. Cato. Pass is asking a little bit too much of Fraser Hills. Brisbane City maybe just still adjusting to the slick conditions with their emphasis on those little lobbed passes in behind.
A little bit too straight. They've certainly been overhit but they've also been a bit straight, need a bit more angle. But of all the conditions, you'd have to say, Lockie, that the quality of this playing surface is more than an even contributor to the quality of the football we've seen. The players are loving it. I'm loving watching it. True bounce, moves quickly, players are responding, surety of touch.
So delivery from Lucas, knocked down by Clark. Guest, he's got a tight angle. And the deflection towards the back post. Stent doesn't get it. Holmes fires. And the Brisbane City stopper with another decent stop.
Well, there's goals. There's more goals in this one. If only because Brisbane's defence is a little creaky. The deflection didn't help there, and Stent fumbled somewhat on the back of that, but then didn't he do well? And that shot was, if I may say, cannoned in towards goal. He did really well to deny Oakley a third.
That's your one and only Cannon's reference for the night.
Sure. It's not as though it's been done before.
Here they come again. And that's a half volley from Chris Lucas. It doesn't trouble the Brisbane City defence. Feely pumps that one into the night sky. One down by Koji Kato. A well-weighted pass in the direction of Hirayama and a tangle of legs. Going to see Oliver Kubalay head into the book, bringing down Peter Hirayama, who really has been a handful for Oakley's defence so far.
I wasn't sure if that was intentional, which to my mind doesn't mean it's not a foul, but I think it might absolve you of the yellow card. I'm not convinced at all that Kubalay intended on bringing down the live wire. Accidental or not, it's clearly a free kick. It was that extra sanction which I'm not convinced about.
Oakley have been an ever-present threat from set pieces. Brisbane City with the chance to answer back here. Jackson Simpkin and Daniel Bowles moving around at the back post. Instead it's for Jones, who just mistimes the jump and has a friendly exchange with Matt Fashini. Well, I say friendly.
Well, the exchange now is between Danaskos and Fashini. We didn't appreciate the two hands into the back of Jones.
Niagoran having to come a long way back, and still he does win the ball. First time fire from Anthony Pandazopoulos has set Oakley on their way. Lucas along the edge of the box and away from Roman Hoffman. He has had his work cut out for him in the centre circle for Brisbane City, mostly dealing with that man, Joe Guest. Home side get their numbers across to try and create something from this throw. Decker scoops one out. Hirayama picking up the loose ball. And you can hear Tim Danaskos just telling you to Hirayama, oh, you went in for it. You have to deal with the consequences. Kubalay with the blind clearance. Niagoran and Daniel Bowles, their war wages on. Oakley winning those second balls, which is particularly important in the ebb and flow of this game. The bouncing ball breaks the way of Niagoran. Lays it down for Decker, who just completely askew whiffs it off the boot. Although it has fallen back for an Oakley ball, only for a moment.
Turned out to be a great pass from Wade Decker. It was a vision that you didn't quite appreciate, Lockie.
I guess we all see things differently on a football pitch now.
Yeah. Well, Wade Decker certainly saw that differently.
Tim Danaskos urging Brisbane City to get their charge on as Matt Fashini clears that one onto the top of the grandstand. There is another artificial pitch behind that grandstand used by the Oakley 21, so I'm sure a grateful junior will be charging across to get that ball. That's a poor clearance from Pandazopoulos, and Decker is there to spare his blushes. And now Hills. Back onto the right boot. It's a delicious delivery, and Sibatuara has nearly kept it in play. He can't fault his effort.
Tough one. Again, it caught the breeze. Sailed that little bit away from Sibatuara.
There's the Oakley active support, the Oakley Bulldogs, as they call themselves. This fourth official, Lockie Keevers, gets set to add 2 minutes onto a first half that, I've got to be honest with you, Andy Harper, I don't really want it to end.
No, it's been really good. And a great contest.
Big up and under from Daniel Bowles. Niagoran. He has been an absolute handful so far. Decker scanning and switching. Kai Bolton. Initial interception, but gives up possession. Hirayama. Back for Kato. Space opens up for Sibatuara to drive again. So dangerous with that dazzling left foot. But again, Oakley having to double team him to deny him that shooting angle. That one has a little bit too much on it for Wade Decker. Now Brisbane City would love to draw level before the whistle. Into the second minute of that first half stoppage time. One last attacking chance perhaps. Pandazopoulos and Hirayama watching on as that one trickles out for an Oakley goal kick. He's the key though. There to come back, draw level, and indeed get ahead. It seems like Yuta Hirayama is going to add to his goal tally tonight.
Well, they've certainly got enough danger. Have Brisbane to overcome Oakley. That's whether Oakley are prepared to drop their game, and there's no indication that that's going to eventuate. They've been very impressive, the home team as well, in this first half. Enthralling 45 minutes, really, of cup football.
Niagoran battling with back to goal. And now Chris Lucas released on the far side. Guest has to hesitate. Now left-footed cross. Stent with the one-arm grab. That could have gone a lot worse. And as he throws it down the other side of the turf, that's going to bring us to the halftime whistle, where Nick Niagoran brace has Oakley Cannons 2-1 ahead at the halftime interval. It was a fast start for the Cannons. They opened the scoring within 4 minutes after a defensive lapse from Daniel Bowles. And you can see that defensive lapse there that allows Nick Niagoran an empty net tap in. There's his second. Receiving that flick on at the back post from Daniel Clark. But Oakley, for the 2-goal lead, certainly was still allowing chances in the opposite direction, particularly for Yuta Hirayama. And here it is, through the legs of Nick Feely. And it's that goal that gives the Atsuri hope of a second half fight back. But those set pieces, Harps, that's been the real danger area for Brisbane City.
Yes, certainly. They'll need to address that, of course, at half-time. But they've shown enough away from home against an Oakley team which has dominated possession and forced some good work out of Stent. But so too in the Oakley goal has feel he done a great job. It's been a really, really good game. Half-time sat up nicely for a second-half cup charge.
It's promised goals, and it has delivered goals. We're set for an exciting 45 on the other side of this. That final spot in the quarters absolutely up for grabs as we head to the break. Back underway. We're about to get back underway here at Jack Edwards Reserve in Oakley. Our all-NPL round of 16 tie with a spot in the quarterfinal stage of the Australia Cup beckoning is delivering all the excitement you'd hope from all that NPL 2 action and more. But at the moment, it is Oakley with the advantage. 2 goals provided by that man you just saw on your screen, Nick Niagoran. Oakley were in control, causing Brisbane City all sorts of problems with the set pieces in the opening 20 minutes. But City have shown their quality in attack as well, pulling one back, giving them a lifeline and setting us up for a big second 45 through Yuta Hirayama. Harps, how many goals? That's the question I have for you.
Yeah, well, forecasting has never been a strong point of mine, but I feel very comfortable saying there's going to be a lot more action because the first 45 delivered plenty. There's no reason to suspect that either team is going to take their foot off the throttle. Conditions are perfect, and there's a lot to play for.
There will be no letting up from either side. Oakley, they scored early in the first, hoping to do so in the second. Lucas across for Daniel Clark, scoops that one out, and Jones, well, half cleared. Holmes on the swivel. And Kubalay couldn't get it through a sea of legs. Rain continuing to trickle down. The pitch relatively unperturbed. And such great nick as we were marvelling at in the opening half. Fashini losing out to Kai Bolton. So good at darting down that dribble from his wing-back slot. Gets the cross in, and there was just no one at the back post.
It was too fast for everyone.
Had to really make a fist of it.
Good chase.
We want to see a little bit more of that from Kai Bolton, the man who comes into this game with such brilliant form in the NPL Queensland, having scored 7 in his last 4, including a hat-trick a couple of weeks ago against Eastern Suburbs. Wingback Sam Sibatuara on the far side has provided a lot in attack. Matt Smith hoping that Kai Bolton on the other flank can deliver the same. Not from that drive. And Niagoran goes down, and there was a tug of the shirt, and Daniel Bowles has had a challenging start at the commencement of both halves now. Defensive lapse in the first, and now a yellow card early on into the second. And you can see the tug of the shirt right there.
Yeah. Interesting that Daniel Bowles didn't feel confident that he could match it with Niagoran for speed. A long way out from goal. Not only is it the free kick and the yellow card against the defender's name, but that's a big psychological win for the tall striker.
Joe Guest dazzled with his delivery so far. Another chance, and it is Niagoran the target. That's the least clean contact.
Sorry, yeah, that's the least convincing he's looked all night, Niagoran. He's been really impressive.
Which, given he still got boot to ball, is saying a lot about his first half. Daniel Clark. No way in to the penalty box for him. Hills. Hirayama was making the run further ahead. He goes inside for Halliday. So that's knocked out of touch by Daniel Bowles.
Yeah, just not quite out of the sheds yet, Brisbane City. You know, a lot more scything in their possession play in the first half, but opening couple of minutes here, just not quite hit the same fluency.
It's a pass looking for Daniel Clark, but Riley Stent, you feel like even if that ball did stay in play, the keeper might have been first to the scene of the crime, although Daniel Clark, he would love the chance to score against his old side tonight. The Queenslander was last playing in his native state in 2020. He won the premiership with Peninsula Power. There'll definitely be a few familiar faces for him in that Atzuri lineup. Luke Plummer on the bench, a teammate of his in that premiership winning campaign. we mentioned in the first half, Brisbane City have been so strong in the lead up to this game. 1 loss in their last 7. They've scored 23 goals against that stretch, so an average of 3.5 a game. So you just feel like 2-1, the present scoreline, might not stick where it currently is. Contesting Tyson Holmes and Jackson Simpkin. Tyson Holmes has had an assured performance so far at the base of that Oakley midfield. As down goes Jackson Simpkin. So Rain kicks up into another gear, and you can see the visitors on the far side hurtling in as Brisbane City come on the break. It's squared across, edge of the box, and fired over the top by Koji Kato. We had a few great chances to score against Cockburn City. Testing the keeper. That one well wide of target. You can see him cutting a frustrated figure as he marches away. Thinking to himself, should have done better with that chance. It was a promising break for Brisbane. Second half goals looking like a matter of when and not if. And maybe the when is now, although Williams away before Hirayama could latch onto it. Lucas, a round 1 challenge. They do look so comfortable, though, Brisbane City, in these moments of build-up play, their passing patterns. You can tell they're a well-drilled outfit under Matt Smith. Even if, so far, set-piece defending has left somewhat to be desired.
Just not as convincing as it might be. But no, they play well. They've got a great roster of players. That helps.
They've got a lot of potential options available to them on the bench. Luke Plummer, former NPL Queensland Premiership and Championship winning defender, although probably not the most likely source. Brandon Reeves, who did score from the penalty spot off the bench in the round of 32 against Cockburn. He's a likely target. He has scored some important goals over the stretch for the Azzurri, not least in their grand final win last year. Lucas battling for that one, and it's broken for Hills. Dances around a couple of markers and feeds Sibatuara. Grandstand certainly looking a bit more full than it did in the second half.
Yeah, people have sought out whatever cover is available here. The Jack Edwards Reserve, fantastic facility. A delightful playing surface, so you can't get sick of saying it. Really, it's got to be one of the best in the country.
Kato for Hirayama, chesting down, going down. And a wave of the arms from Tim Danaskos. But Brisbane City protested their case furiously. The decision did not go in their favour. It seemed like a tight one. Guest. Nice pass to give Kubalay some time and space, and Niagoran, not fussed with having a central defender on top of him, is able to knock the ball away. Holmes. One way then the other. Down goes Chris Lucas. Tim Danaskos shown a willingness to keep it an open game. Wade Decker remains in that left fullback slot, which is still a learning curve for him, but one that up against Sam Sibatuara tonight, he's managed for the most part. Speaking of people who have had an interesting time managing new challenges, Daniel Bowles up against Nick Niagoran. It's been a tough one. At this point in the first half, we'd had 2 Oakley goals. Still their search for a third continues on. Oh, Niagoran on the spin. And he does get the referee's whistle this time.
It's all right, he's got it.
Outside of the penalty box, that decision, but only just. Right on the precipice.
Well, it's to the soft part of the Brisbane City game that we've seen tonight. It's their set-piece defending again. It's a packed penalty area. The ball just on the edge of the area. Niagoran is head and shoulders above anyone else defending.
Delivery towards the near post. In fact, it was towards the rear end, and Matt Foschini wheels away in disappointment rather than in celebration. That was a bigger chance, I think, than the reaction suggested. Foschini had a clean run at that at the back post. Hirayama. He's the one and only goal scorer for Brisbane City so far. That one a little bit loose from Hills towards Bolton. Simpkin. They do like to bring the centre-backs forward, Brisbane, and Simpkin bears down, still going. Jackson Simpkin! It's a good save from Nick Feely. Both keepers have been sternly tested at that end throughout this game.
Well, that makes it 3 really good saves by Nick Feely. Beaten once tonight, saved excellently 3 times. And that, as it was fired towards the far post. Quite some good reflex from Feely, who delivered to beat the ball away and keep Brisbane at bay.
If you hadn't been watching this game or hadn't been watching Brisbane City this season, you wouldn't necessarily have known that Jackson Simpkin is a central defender. That charge towards goal. Maybe in hindsight would have rather putting his effort a little bit further away either side of Nick Feely. Aaron Williams had to get that header correct, and he did. Simpkin back on the ball. The line for Bolton. That's a big challenge coming in from Joe Guest. Winning the ball in the process. Koji Kato back for Hoffman. Halliday to Hills. Patient play from Brisbane City. Does it have an end product? All the way back to Daniel Bowles. Well, it's pretty passing, but it's not delivering much in the way of incision. Brisbane City having a bit of a hard time breaking through this Oakley back line. And case in point, Kai Bolton, receiver of the long pass, flagged for offside. Aaron Williams had a very close effort of his own off the underside of the crossbar that could have made it 3-1. On out for a deep cannon's throw. Joe Guest marshalling his troops. created something out of nothing with a few of his crosses tonight. Back on the ball here. That one not quite delivering the same outcomes. Deflecting out off Koji Kato. And Joe Guest. Well, we were just talking about how he can create something out of nothing. Has added a third for the Oakley Cannons. And look at his teammates converge upon him. He took it on the swivel and found that bottom corner. Riley Stent with no response.
Well, it's a speculator. And I don't know if Riley Stent's line of sight was blocked, but he's made no play at this at all on his near post. He's like a stunned mullet as the ball is fired in from Guest, one of the outstanding players on the field tonight.
The Atsuri caught on the hop, and Joe Guest getting a goal that his play merits, and one that might well have put 1 foot for the Cannons into the quarterfinal, although Fraser Hills with the instant reply. And there's the trademark celebration. The Mike Cockrell medalist with a brilliant finish on the tight angle, and he turns to Joe Guest and says, anything you can do, I can do better.
Well, it's a great finish from Fraser Hills. And in the space of less than a minute, we've had 2 really well-hit shots and 2 questionable bits of goalkeeping. When the goalkeeping has been such a feature tonight, Lockie. Well, they've breathed life straight back into the contest, have Brisbane. You suspected more goals, Lockie. And there's probably still more to come. What an open and entertaining cup tie this has been.
All NPL, all chaos. And we might be changing the scoreboard attendant is getting a workout. Lucas with the curling effort, always rising and wide of the target. And whoever is manning the electronic controls on the Oakley scoreboard is having a nervous time at present. It's Chris Lucas. He's tied with Liam Boland alongside Patrick Antelmi for the most goals by an NPL player in the Australia Cup with 9. How he would like to take an outright lead with the 10th this evening. It is a game that has had just about everything tonight. Brisbane City just taking a moment of possession around the back, really to take a breath. Digging that one out is Cato. No threat to Oakley's central defensive union. As that time Bowles victorious in the battle with Nick Niagoran. A battle that shows no signs of simmering. Tyson Holmes not too happy with the attempted supply from Aaron Williams. Riley Stent, who was caught somewhat on the hop by that earlier goal from Joe Knowles. He was given a pretty swift bailout at the other end by Fraser Hills. Simpkin, nice chest in control. And now Bolton skipping free of one with Paddock ahead. And Hirayama at the back post, cutting inside. We do know he likes to shoot from those angles. Now Halliday and Sibatuara driving, and Feely coming up with the stop. Those wide players, their importance in Brisbane's game plan ever increasing. As Nick Niagoran has shown some surprising speed for a man of his size, but never going to chase that one down. Hirayama. Feely pumping that one away. Chris Lucas gets the flick on, but Daniel Bowles outstretches his limbs to thwart Nick Niagoran. Sibituara has his pocket picked by Oliver Kubalay. Did go into the booking in the first half. Beautiful slalom from Tyson Holmes. Koji Kato at full stretch. Couldn't win the ball back. Tyson Holmes. Oh, that was a rugby tackle from the Cannons midfielder, and into the book he goes. Chris Taylor may well have been arguing about a preceding foul before that incident, but the actual challenge from Tyson Holmes, I'm not sure he would have too much to complain about on that one.
Didn't leave a lot to the imagination.
He is a perennial wind-up, whether he's played in Victoria and been to the summit of Victorian football with South Melbourne, but also in his native Queensland with Sunshine Coast Wanderers. Went back there in 2020, so quite possible that a few players are alert to his chirpiness in and around the ball. One of those might well be Scott Halliday. Still yet to see either side turn to their bench. To be fair, both of the present 11s are doing a pretty decent job. Hills across the halfway line. Slipping it towards Sibituara. The fast feet, across in, and the ball just wide. Diving down to get it goalward bound was Yuta Hirayama. But a defensive intervention from the Cannons means it is a Brisbane City corner.
Well, it's great pressure from City. And they're really pumping Oakley at the moment to draw back level. Hirayama is so dangerous, but the offering from both flanks is really tasty from Brisbane.
Teasing ball. Knocked away by Panterzopoulos at the near post. Those wing-backs are really giving a tough time to the makeshift Oakley backline. In this second phase, ball over the top is in search of Hirayama. Feely. Nick Feely reaching it with ease. Colossal goalkeeper. Hoffman. Kato, lovely first time turn. And the release for Sibituara.
Yeah,
Not quite matching what preceded it.
No need to be such range on that pass, and it's an hour now over to get used to the speed of the pitch. Kato's been really good tonight. To make space was excellent, but really needed to recalibrate that pass. Is never going to do the job.
Flag is up, but advantage paid to the Atsuri. Sibituara. Hills on the turn. Kato outside of the foot pass for Panterzopoulos. Showing experience and awareness beyond his years to create the defensive stop. It's lumped away, no nonsense. In the Cannons' rear guard. You do have to wonder at what point do they stop pressing for a fourth, start thinking about conserving what they've got. But given the attacking potency that's been on show tonight, I'm not sure that's the best plan in the present circumstances.
Well, you continue to feel like you're a chance going forward against Brisbane because they do push so many players forward normally, and particularly given that they're chasing the equalizer. If you're Oakley, you're thinking, well, there's going to be some space for us to exploit if we can be clinical enough.
Well, Brisbane City will throw their centre-backs, their midfielders into the attack in their game plan when they're level, let alone when they're chasing a lead. Fascinating to see how long this dynamic stretches on and what changes are yet to come. Away with authority and into the Brisbane City bench from Aaron Williams. Ato. Another first-time touch. It looks good. Hirayama down under the intervention of Pandazopoulos.
He's been very good tonight, Pandazopoulos, but I don't know that that's quite legal. But away they go.
Well, on the break, Nick Niagoran's there. He goes down, and penalty spot is exactly where Tim Danaskos points. Well, from one end to the other in the blink of an eye. Brisbane City not happy with it, but Nick Niagoran has scored 2 goals and now has won a penalty. You'll take on that one, Harps?
Well, the penalty will stand because there's no VAR if we need to repeat. I thought it was a foul on Hirayama at the other end of the field on the edge of the penalty area. Referee says no. Oakland go upfield. Penalty awarded. And the hat-trick is but moments away, probably.
And it's Nick Niagoran. Prior to tonight, in the league campaign, he had played no more than 68 minutes, not a single start in the league. And now, he has the chance for his hat-trick. Up against Stent. And it's a big save from the Brisbane City stopper. Nick Niagoran denied his hat-trick. Oakley Cannons denied their breathing room in the most remarkable of circumstances. This game just does not quit.
Well, I said probably secure his hat-trick, not definitely. And Stent...
I know who will be chasing after it, the full-time whistle, Harps.
Well, Stent, after conceding the penalty in the eyes of the referee against Niagoran, then saves, does very well. And here come Oakley again. Brisbane with players forward, now caught short once more.
Oakley with the 4-on-3, Guest towards the back post. Clark was ready and waiting for a goal-bound strike, but it's Jackson Simpkin with the header in the nick of time. He's been good in this second half, Jackson Simpkin. It's going to have to be good again from this set piece. Fate of this game hinges delicately on the next goal, you think. Guest. Great cross. Williams can't get it on target.
He's not the tallest player on the field, Aaron Williams, but he's one of the most effective in the air. He hit the crossbar with a header from a set piece in the first half and has peeled out to the back of the pack there and made some good space for himself. Again, Brisbane's frailty from defending the dead ball on show.
Halliday. He's climbed all the way to the semi-finals.
Well, Hirayama's gone down again. He's received a little knee in the small of the back from the Oakley defender.
And Brisbane City will eventually get a decision in their favour, although a fair way back from where they actually wanted it. Kai Bolton, the man on a mission. Hills. Aaron Williams, body in the right place at the right time. Game becoming increasingly stretched.
Brisbane have got, I think, a little bit of a physical advantage here. It's emerging strangely. Lockie. And that penalty was awarded, and as players were getting set for it, a couple of the Oakley players were going down to stretch tightening muscles, perhaps some cramp.
Hills can't get the cross in to Hirayama.
And in an open and fast game, which this is, it's looking like Brisbane might have eked out a physical advantage for themselves. Looking a little fresher at the moment, although they have to thank the goal-keeping heroics from the penalty spot of Stent to keep the score within range. 4-2 might have been a bridge too far with 15 to play. And 3-2, and the way Brisbane are attacking constantly and the dangerous players they've got remains a manageable project for them.
You wouldn't know from all their energy so far. Brisbane City have played 3 games in the past 7 days. They're looking pretty spry right now. Got to make it count on the scoreboard and get level. And even level isn't enough. That's the beauty of cut football. Matt Fashini has had a pretty composed game in that right fullback slot. He's done well to limit the influence of Kai Bolton tonight. Although it must be said that the latter has certainly grown as this game has transpired. Cato, scooping ball for Bolton. And Harps, you nearly had to take cover from that clearance from Aaron Williams. Hoffman. Bowles, good pass through the lines. Hill able to take it in his stride. Sibituara. Pantazopoulos again with the telling touch.
Excellent on the near post. Cutting out that ball. Pantazopoulos had a good game tonight. And you need to be on top of your game as a defender against this Brisbane City team. They've got players taking up great positions.
Ball a little bit too deep from Fraser Hills. Shallow rather. And Williams offline in the direction of Chris Lucas. Anthony Pantazopoulos, he's been a busy boy in the past few weeks. He was up at the AIS last week as part of Trevor Morgan's 30-man talent ID camp for the young Socceroos, and based on his performance tonight, it's not hard to see why. He's
done
been very
well.
solid.
Yeah.
Still hopeful that he can make that final squad. We'll be hoping that Trevor Morgan's watching tonight. He's another promising young defender in Jackson Simpkin. It goes back to Koji Cato. Again, Bowles. Great vision for Hills, and then so in the direction of Hirayama. Decker forces Pantazopoulos into the hit and hope. We've got two midfielders walking the tightrope now, Holmes and Kubalay. Up the line from Niagoran and Hoffman. Clears one. It looked like it might have been heading over the grandstand once more, but not to be. Last time Roman Hoffman played against a Chris Taylor outfit back in 2015 against South Melbourne, and he scored his penalty in a shootout that the Palm Beach Sharks eventually won. Hoping he can chip in with an important contribution as this game transpires as Wade Decker searches for a Hollywood goal. You wouldn't put it past something like that happening tonight.
Well, no, Wade Decker will be the talk of the school tomorrow if he could score a bomb like that.
Bolton, Halliday working the 1-2. Lovely little chop from Kai Bolton, who goes down under the challenge. And still with the visitors. Hoffman for Hirayama. Touch was a little bit too loose. And Holmes can come away with the ball. Chris Lucas committing his body to the cause and getting the decision in his favour. Did require a bit of toing and froing. Towards the final 10 minutes. And it remains, while Oakley have the upper hand, it remains anyone's game. Daniel Clark has got an assist against his old side, but he'll be hopeful of a goal to add to it. You'd imagine a fourth for Oakley would just about seal it. But then I say that, and a lot have turned out to be quite surprising this evening. Halliday. Difficult one for him to deal with, but he did well to give himself the room to manoeuvre. Linking in with Hills to provide the breakaway opportunity for Brisbane. Good sliding tackle from Decker. Hills breaks kindly for him. Right-footed cross into the chest of Anthony Panterzopoulos. Daniel Clark. It's it to Holmes in the centre circle. Brisbane City scrambling to get defensive numbers behind the ball as forward comes Kubalay, and on the edge of the box is Joe Guest. And he just snatched at the shot in the end.
Well, it sat nicely, didn't it? But it sat onto his right foot, and he's got a beautiful left foot. Guest. Kubalay blasted as well. And the rebound to Guest, the very impressive Guest, but his right foot can't do what the left foot was so effective at finishing for Oakley's third goal.
Chris Lucas back up to his feet very quickly. And swift in his release for Daniel Clark. Just waiting for support to materialise. It does eventually in the form of Matt Fashini. Guest. Niagoran back to goal. Laying down for Guest, who rides the edge of the penalty box. Can't find passage through it. Kubalay. Sheeny. Daniel Clark and Jackson Simpkin going body to body in the corner. It's the Atzuri defender who emerges victorious. Jones. Sort of direct 3-on-3, at least in possession of Oakley's front three against the three central defenders of Brisbane. It's really been a fascinating matchup, I think. Definitely keeps those central defenders on their toes consistently. To be on it here too. Holmes heads for the safety of Nick Feely. Long bomb, never going to pick out Chris Lucas. Brisbane City running out of time, but still more than capable. Is it perhaps time for a freshen up on the bench?
Well, they're looking pretty fresh. They're looking pretty fresh at the moment. But if you're going to play a card, you may as well play one soon, as you mentioned it. Brisbane City readying to change.
And, well, not the first time tonight we've spoken things into existence. Luke Plummer getting ready to come on. Holmes. Clark wheeling around, trying to wrap his boot around the ball. Knocked clear by Matt Jones. And then the diving header to do it on the second occasion. Although, here comes Chris Lucas. It's a teasing delivery, skidding along the edge of what's already a pretty wet surface, and Daniel Bowles did well to get a clean clearance.
Slicing the ball away, dangerous. As Oakley have had the better of the last few moments. Matt Smith sensing what you did, Lockie, that it was time for a bit of an injection. Brisbane's high-octane attack had just flattened out over the last few minutes.
And despite that, it's a defensive change. Luke Plummer Swapping with Jackson Simpkin, who's had a decent game on the left side of that back three. Luke Plummer straight in with defending to do. It's Matt Jones. Gets it away at the near post. Sibatuara. Pretty open and shut case as far as that foul was concerned. Been an ever-present thorn in the side of that Oakley defence. There's a touch for the substitute in Plummer. Goes for Bolton, who didn't really catch the pass correctly. Cato marshalling the men around. Even after all that, not finding a teammate. It's been extremely energetic, a real midfield dynamo, Koji Cato. Bolton going for the kick and run. And Aaron Williams got enough minutes in the legs to know what to do in that sort of a situation.
So we'll see now. Hopefully we'll be in no rush. I wouldn't have thought to get the game back going. They'll try and milk the clock. If they are tiring, they'll be even more intent on that front.
This is usually where you do start to see the Chris Taylor gamesmanship tactics start to filter in. What kind of a response to that sort of tomfoolery is Matt Smith going to mount? Well, we shall see. Brisbane City 3 minutes plus stoppage to send us to an extra 30. It's hard to tell who an extra 30 minutes of this game would favour. Brisbane City have got the energy, but Oakley so threatening on the break. Hirayama hunting that down. Forces Feely into the long ball. It's a good header from Plummer. Halliday as well to shield the ball. Plummer. Hoffman at full stretch to distribute to Bolton, who's on the charge. Towards the edge of the box, and the ground just gives way underneath the feet of Fraser Hills.
He's been very impressive, Bolton, going forward as well.
And he gets into a groove down that left flank. He doesn't often look like he's going to be stopped. He slightly misread that one, though. Daniel Clark looking to exploit the space in behind, potentially put the game to bed. It's a great challenge to save the day from Luke Plummer. Decker launching step overs. They're not fooling anyone, with the exception possibly of himself. Bolton. Quick exchange with Hills. Halliday through the middle. Breaking down that Oakley rear guard. It's gotten tougher as the game's transpired. Cannons have just slowly but surely compressed their defensive lines. It's getting towards kitchen sink territory for Brisbane City. Could you throw Daniel Bowles forward? I'm not sure.
Well, they've got 3 minutes, we're told, to find a solution here.
Been more than enough value for a third goal. But they are leaving their run very late. Hirayama has had a frustrating second half. He's been on the wrong end of a few decisions that he feels like, Matt Smith probably feels like he should have gotten, as Lockie Keevers, the fourth official, adds 3 minutes. As you predicted, Huffs, you must have known onto this game.
It's been one of those nights, Lockie.
It has twisted and turned, delivered surprises throughout the 90. Oakley Cannons have 1 foot in the Australia Cup quarters. Daniel Clark, a relieved man, a grateful man to have that ball trickle out for a throw and chew up a few more valuable seconds.
For all their energy, Brisbane, and that's been impressive, but the threat they've mounted has waned significantly over the last 15 minutes or so. Really, in the Oakley goal, it really tested under much pressure. They've been able to manage their way through this, and Brisbane have shown such promise tonight. They play a really nice brand of football. A couple of defensive lapses have really hurt them at the start of the game. Of course, they need to be very grateful for goalkeeper Stent that he saved that penalty, or else this one would have been done a while ago. But as things stand, there's still a beating heart for Brisbane City.
There's not a lot of it left, but there is time. And Brisbane City will bring their numbers. Hills. It's a good pass for Halliday. His touch. Not enough. And Riley Stent. Hurrying himself along to take the goal kick. In the end, it's a central defender that takes it for him. And it's route 1 for Brisbane. It's broken for them through Sibatuara. Deflected cross, corner ball for Brisbane City. And Riley Stent, is he on the way up? I think he is, you know.
Well, desperate from Panterzopoulos. And this, you'd imagine, will be the last chance, the last action of the 90. Can Brisbane City pull it out of the fire?
One last drive for Brisbane City. Stent's attacking it, making contact, cleared along the line, and it's in. Brisbane City wheeling away. Fraser Hills has delivered the ball that is going to send this game into extra time. Absolutely remarkable.
Well, mad panic. Fraser Hills knocks the ball into the mixer. It's a great challenge. There's a saved on the line. There's a touch of appeals for handball as well.
It is an absolute mad scramble. Hirayama was the player who had a couple of shots towards goal, cleared off the line.
And was it he who finished it off, Lockie?
May well.
It's really hard to tell.
I think Nick Feely might have made a save that deflected off Wade Decker, perhaps,
right,
who was down on the goal line.
Well
but
done.
either way, it doesn't matter.
Incredible.
Because Brisbane City...
Probably the finish, as hard as this is for Oakley to hear, it's probably the finish the game deserved. Has been, and that's not to say Brisbane deserved necessarily to be out of jail, but we certainly deserve the drama. There's been a really good game of football, this.
And there we go. Extra time here at Jack Edwards Reserve. And a goal line scramble for Brisbane City, saving them from an exit at the round of 16. They remain alive.
jink back onto that left and keep the penetration going. And as he faded away onto his right, the angle got narrower and the likelihood of some danger caused by that right foot was lessening. So he gets the corner, I guess that's some reward.
Would be quite the turnaround. Yet to take the lead in this game, Brisbane City. They've been 2 down, and Nick Feely leaps up towards the crossbar to stop that one causing any threat, but corner never really made it into the penalty box in the end. It would be quite the turnaround for the Atzuri. Guest. Lucas. Scored goals on a number of occasions against Brisbane City before. I'll have to add another one to his name. Good interception high up the park from Holmes. Guest. Feeding for Sheeny. Cross deflecting, scrambling in the penalty box. Guest has come away with it and on the swivel! It's Joey Guest! And it's the Cannons who wrestle the lead back again. And it had to be him, didn't it? The Cannons teammates surrounding him as he scored a goal that could prove vital.
Well, it's a terrific effort from a wonderful player, spinning away from the attendant defenders, winning the ball, players dropping over, maybe out of fatigue as much as anything, getting a great angle and good contact on that left foot to make it 4 for the Cannons, 2 for Guest for the night, and a couple of cramps to go with it.
Now, Riley Stent, he came up absolutely massive earlier for Brisbane City, denying Nick Niagoran a hat-trick and a 4th goal that would have put this game to bed in regular time, but he had no response for that arrowed finish from Joe Guest, and his goal might have come at some personal cost. So he's got the physio and 3 or 4 of his teammates giving him the treatment that not only does he require, but you dare say he deserves. A-star quality from the Oakley Cannons medical team.
Well, they've got a bit of work to do to get back to any sort of playing condition. He looks really hampered. Joe Guest, massive contribution from he. He set up the first goal. Has scored the 3rd and 4th.
Well, Brisbane City, they've been here a few times before tonight. You cannot discount, especially with so much of extra time remaining, their route back into the contest. They've come back from 2 down, from 3-2 down. Can they do it from 4-3? I mean, only the football gods know at this point. An absolutely crazy round of 16 game. You expect nothing less. These cross-state all-NPL encounters, they rarely, if ever, fail to deliver. Kubalay, Chris Lucas, beautiful pirouettes inside for Niagoran. Holmes always looks like he has so much time and space and ease on the ball. Decker's cross diverted away, but he's won back the second ball. Chris Lucas deflecting down for Niagoran, who stretches every sinew to get that header back into a dangerous area. Fashini was charging down on Kai Bolton, who had to clear. Bolton. Gallivanting down the left. Chipping it over the top. Hills was the intended target, but Pandazopoulos again standing strong with a defensive intervention. Nick Niagoran now on the turf. Oakley players just dropping like flies at the moment.
Yeah. Well, there was always that feeling through the 90 that the players were starting to feel the pinch a little bit. Very important for them. They've got the early goal in this extra time period. The way things are shaping up with the players dropping as they are, Lockie, it'll be very difficult to mount a comeback. Defending that lead is going to be a lot easier. And you wonder if Brisbane have been able to just take a snapshot of the state of some of the Oakley players and get a charge of energy themselves.
Matt Jones. Daniel Bowles. The eye catching orange boots. Don't often see that from a central defender. Not that I have any problems with it, of course. That one's left a little short for Hoffman. Niagoran gambling on the loose ball. They're not too intent on going on a goalward charge.
I'm not sure that Nick Niagoran's got too many more of those efforts left in him.
Well, to put it in perspective, Harps, he has played more minutes tonight than he has across 25 rounds of the NPL Victoria this year. Yeah. It is absolutely incredible. Yes, he's played and started in the Cup, but the preliminary rounds were a long time ago for the Oakley Cannons, especially the ones that he started in. Although, looking good here, inside for Decker. Edge of the box is Tyson Holmes.
It's a better opportunity than Tyson actually made it end up looking like. That was a tired effort as well. Not to labour the physical point, because whilst Brisbane players haven't been going down, there's no guarantee that they're feeling completely on top of the game. They shouldn't be. They've put in a huge effort for over an hour and a half already, but they do look to have an edge.
Sibatuara has on a corner for the away side. Missouri take it short. Jones loops a high ball. Nick Feely, well, in the present conditions, did an exceptional job to get the overhead grab there. Well, he might have collected a teammate in the process. And that is not easy. Even for a keeper, that's not easy in these conditions. It's Anthony Pantazopoulos. Well, this has been a bit of a recurring theme for Oakley tonight. The players who go down injured, it doesn't seem to be the whole pitch. It's just three specific players who keep going down. They get knocked down, and luckily for Chris Taylor, they're getting up again. Which is what Brisbane City have done so many times tonight. Back from goal deficits. Again, they find themselves in a trailing position. Good battle between Daniel Clark and Luke Plummer, the two former Penn Power teammates going at it. And Hills with the breakaway. Sibatuara. Wade Decker showing him up. Hills shifting his weight, not deceiving any of his defenders. Fashini. Easy pickings for Luke Plummer. Cato. Oakley with all but one behind the ball. Punching away is Nick Feely. And he's going to get the decision in his favour. He and Fraser Hills are the players on the turf.
I'm not 100% sure what Fraser Hills did wrong here. He leapt for the ball, as did the goalkeeper, who's out of his 6-yard box, inside of which, of course, goalkeepers always get the decision. But beyond that, I don't know if Fraser Hills actually did anything wrong, unless you consider going for the ball a crime.
Sometimes being in the wrong place at the wrong time is enough, I suppose.
Yeah, well, maybe so. Keeper Feely was a barnstorming presence in that exchange.
He is a tall man, Nick Feely, even by goalkeeping standards, at 6'4". And that extra bit of height advantage has certainly proved valuable for him as Brisbane City have launched those looping balls into the penalty area. But really, despite his height, it's been his swiftness off his line that's also been so impressive for him.
He's made those 3 excellent saves in the match so far. See how Fraser Hills recovers from this knock. He's been really a growing presence as the game has gone on, certainly in this extra time period. Looking to craft an outcome for Brisbane City.
Nick Feely. Whether or not it was the right call, the free kick in his favour, it has delivered the desired result for Oakley, which is a good few minutes of first half extra time chewed away. And Fraser Hills is back and ready to continue. Here's a ball over the top. Chris Lucas couldn't quite loop it over Riley Stent. So we tick towards stoppage in this first half of extra time. Oakley again in the box seat, but we've been here before. Guest might be able to put it to bed. Outside of the foot pass. There in the nick of time, Scott Halliday. Done a good job providing extra cover to limit the supply in his first phase. Plummer, good read. The Hirayama getting the go-go gadget arms happening to try and hunt that down. To no avail. Both strikers tonight have been tireless in their efforts, really, to try and make things happen for their respective sides. Yuta Hirayama has maybe a goal and a half to show for it with his scrap down on the touchline for the equaliser.
No, he's a really good player. Kato's been great as well. Fraser Hills for Brisbane City.
His ascension through the ranks in Queensland has been quite remarkable, Yuta Hirayama. Since coming across from university football in Tokyo to play for the Western Pride in the FQPL. Come across to Brisbane, brought them back to the top flight, and has hit double digits in his first season of top-tier football. That's his 3rd consecutive double-digit year. And he's hunting down another here. Hirayama. Hills is in support. So too is Bolton. Hoffman. Short for Hills, reverse pass, looking for Sibatuara, but Nick Feely gets the big frame out to smother that one.
It's probably too late in the game for Sibatuara to get the angle on his run. He was really lacked freshness there. Which is not a criticism of him, just an observation. It's been hard going.
It wouldn't be easy for any of the players presently on the outfield to be fresh, although Oliver Kubalay on the march, only to be denied initially by Luke Plummer. Cannon still alive. Kubalay driving, taking some contact. Here's Joe Guest. There's a deflection, and it's still alive. Lucas, Guest again. Now we've got 2 players on hat-trick watch now.
Well, that's an escape for Brisbane City. That's a real escape.
see Chris Taylor, the lone man, standing in the technical area of the Oakley Cannons bench. And that's the end of the first period of extra time. And Oakley, having had their hearts broken late in the regular 90, have pulled back ahead through their English magician, Joe Guest. And they've been so impressive, Brisbane City, with their comeback ability tonight. And Matt Smith is going to be asking for them to do it all over again, either to win the game outright or Andy Harper to send us to penalties.
Well, Brisbane will take heart from the fact that they've come from the dead once and they'll do it again. I feel they can do it again, and the goal that separates the teams is not insurmountable for them on the style of football they play. If they're fresh enough, there's still players to come off the bench if either coach needs. And of the two teams, it does appear it's as though the expectation, as we had it coming into extra time, that the Oakley players generally were finding the physicality of the game, the speed of the game a little bit too much. It's to their enormous credit that they've come back from that severe disappointment of not winning the match in normal time to now take the lead in this first period of extra time and be so positioned at the turnaround. Can they hold on?
It's the principal question, and what a night. 4 goals to 3. And now that ace up the sleeve of Matt Smith that we talked about earlier has been pulled out and slapped on the deck.
Can you complete the set of cup fixtures tonight? There's a glaring omission there, Lockie.
Is the only one that didn't go into extra time, sorry, my apologies. The one that did end in regular time, Wellington Phoenix getting a 2-1 win over Melbourne City.
At the Casey Fields, not far from here. It's been a feast of football in the southeast of Melbourne.
Victoria, at least in this round of the Australia Cup, living a very charmed life. Unbelievable. 4 fixtures and only 1 concluding in the 90. And even that was a bit of an upset. It's been a phenomenal Australia Cup tournament against its own lofty standards.
Well, this has been as good a game as we've seen, I'd say. And how many more twists in the tail? Depends on how much petrol's left in the tank of the players.
Still plenty of forward impetus from the Cannons. They have just 15 minutes more to hold out, although they've done worse with less tonight.
In a lot of ways, it's going to be a challenge for referee Tim Danaskos as well. Players go down, and if it's just for fatigue, really, he's obliged to keep the game going. Match condition and fitness is all a key part of football, and you shouldn't get special assistance because you're too tired. It's going to be an interesting one for the referee to manage from this point on.
It's going to be an interesting one for the players to manage this final 15. It's still absolutely up for grabs. Brisbane City, if they want to win it in the extra time period, want to get level sooner rather than later. Koji Kato.
Now good. What a terrier he is. A terrier with real quality, Kato.
Absolute dynamo in the heart of that City midfield. His win back of possession, giving them this attacking drive. Hills again has just grown and grown in this game as it's gone on. Plenty of ticker in that Atsuri midfield. Dalton given one to charge down. Fashini, he almost wanted to get involved in the physical battle there. He went out of his way to shield the body that was oncoming. Another change in the offing for Brisbane City. It's going to be Arthur Antonis coming on in place of Sam Sibatuara, who I think you mentioned earlier, Harps, was flagging a little bit towards the end of the 90, let alone the extra time period. Oakley still yet to make a change. Daniel Clark unrolls out of his control. Brandon Reeves and Yuta Hirayama forming the two up top for Brisbane City at the moment. So Antonis also onto the field of play. Pandasopoulos clears that into some of his, well, dry fans, actually. I was going to say wet and cold fans, but they're actually cold and dry. More than can be said for those who are braving the other side of the pitch, the broadcast side. Bowles gallops his way out of central defence. He's got Oliver Kubalay standing in his way. Plummer. Brisbane City switching the locus of attack. They try to probe. Find a gap. In the Cannons' back four. Possession that Oakley are very happy to let Brisbane have around the back three. Reeves. Right to Bolton. Back inside, Hills. A quick little pivot. Cato, the low drive, and he pulls out the absolute best from Nick Feely. Ball still in play. Now it's out for a corner. But you could see Koji Cato lining up the strike from a mile off. And even then, Nick Feely had to be on his guard.
No, it's really measured. It's great technique. You know, he didn't go to thrash the ball, but he knew he had the advantage of maybe some players in the way. He steered it towards goal, and Feely saves to concede the corner, which Brisbane City have duly taken and now build more attack on the Oakley goal.
Cato, well, after such a good strike, the ground not his friend that time, and Oakley have got a 3-on-2, but they get it all wrong. Down goes Joe Guest, and he does get the decision against Arthur Antonis. That is a lucky break for Oakley Cannons.
It sure is. Joe Guest not feeling particularly lucky. That's tied from Wade Decker. And that's one of those accidental ones. Of course, it's still a foul. Completely accidental. However, and thankfully Joe Guest, I mean, that could have finished a little ugly for him, the angle of the contact, but he's up. Two-goal hero, led the charge for Oakley Cannons here tonight. Set up the first goal, scored goal 3 and goal 4.
And he delivers towards Aaron Williams! And that might be that for the Oakley Cannons. The game decided from the boot of Joe Guest towards the head of Aaron Williams. And the centre-back has marched forward for a goal that could prove decisive.
Well, it's a great free kick from Joe Guest. Aaron Williams, Lockie has threatened all night from set pieces. Brisbane's defending from set pieces, but defensively has been a recurring theme. But so too Aaron Williams hit the crossbar from one. He's tested the goal with another, and this time he finds the back of the net with a brilliant glance, brilliant angle on that header to surely seal it here now. And the disappointment of conceding with the last action of the 90 minutes for Oakley has gone, long gone. They're almost there, the Cannons.
He had a header in the first half off the underside of the crossbar, and Aaron Williams, not to be denied, has scored a potentially pivotal goal. And there's no shortage of drama around the grounds. Adelaide City level in the second phase of extra time at Service FM Stadium. What a night of Australia Cup action.
Well, we just saw on the weekend, Sydney United 58 knocking out the Australian champions, Western United, on penalties. Will Adelaide City get the opportunity to do the same against Adelaide United? That's a great story. Much awaited Adelaide derby, haven't had one at the top level of football since the NSL days. West Adelaide used to lock horns with Adelaide City.
At what point do we start to suggest that this is the FFA or the Australia Cup night to end all Australia Cup nights?
It's been a good one. Well, those glued to the fixture here, Lockie, you need to give them an update on the Avondale-Brisbane Roar. Has it been a calamitous night for Brisbane football?
Well,
do they come in with high hopes for two teams? Maybe their own Brisbane derby?
Well, we might have an NPL versus A-League men's outfit or encounter that is currently level, but at Valley Park Event Centre, Avondale are 2-1 down against Brisbane in the 119th minute, so that one looks like it will break the way of the A-League men's side. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, Wellington Phoenix getting the win in regular time. The only side to do that. I'm sure all the others are looking on very enviously over Melbourne City 2-1 at Casey Fields. And presently, it is Oakley Cannons on course with a 2-goal buffer to reach the quarterfinal stage for the first time since 2015. Brisbane City's impressive, certainly headline-grabbing maiden voyage might be coming to a stop as Nick Niagoran again is down on the deck, nursing some soreness. And after 114 minutes of football, Chris Lucas is on the charge. He hasn't got his goal. He wants to get in on the act. Through one, Chris Lucas. It's a good save from Riley Stent once again. And Oakley have put 5 in the back of the net, but for Riley Stent, it could well have been more. That was a great stop. And now Brisbane in the opposite direction. With 5 minutes plus stoppage to play, Chris Taylor finally is turning to his bench. And they come on the charge. Matsuri, their cross. Well, they were expectant of a corner ball that never came. So we do see that substitution come through. And it's, well, what a moment this is for Jordan Lemke. He has been part of the Oakley Cannons, their junior setup, since the under-13s. Hasn't featured in the NPL Victoria this season, not even on the bench. And his first action, his first entrance, is in the extra time of the Australian Cup in place of one of the Cannons' heroes tonight, Nick Niagoran. He is limping off the turf, but the pain worth the reward, potentially. You can only say potentially the way this game is going.
That's right. Still time. There's still time. Well, they've come back once, well, a couple of times Brisbane, but most tellingly in the 93rd minute to take it to extra time. They've been hit twice in extra time. It's going to take quite some imagination to see them mustering the energy to force an opportunity here and salvage the game, take it to penalties.
And but for those set-piece lapses, they have been so good and impressive going forward. Brisbane City, here they are again. It's Reeves for Hirayama. It's a good save. Nick Feely.
Wouldn't that have set things up?
The grandstand finish. Well, another grandstand finish in this game. Thwarted by Nick Feely, who did well not to tip it away, but to get the whole body behind that effort to meet the cross from Yuta Hirayama. They have overcome plenty of obstacles tonight, Brisbane City. You wouldn't put it past them, but Oakley might want to put it to bed. Not that time. Pandazopoulos played it right through. This loose ball is an important one between Feely and Hirayama. It's the keeper who wins the foot race. Anthony Pandazopoulos, one of Oakley's other wounded warriors, returns to his feet. They have given absolutely everything to win this game, and still they might concede. Feely again. Composed and collecting. Really hard to award a specific player of the match. That one's broken kindly for Daniel Clark. And getting down well, Riley Stent. Redistributing quickly. Really, potential man of the match recipients are just about queuing up at this point. I think Nick Feely has probably got a case, even though others have had the glitz and glamour of the goals. He's come up with some big stops. Kai Bolton, he gets a chance to attack young Jordan Lemke. Hirayama. Fashini. No nonsense. Bowls with a deft header for Fraser Hills. Those two have been more than happy to have a game amongst themselves a few times tonight. Pandazopoulos up and away. Over towards the artificial turf. And not long left as we tick towards minute 120. Stoppage time. Back in the mixer from Brisbane City. Chris Taylor and many others here tonight. Their eyes turn towards Lockie Keevers, who has added a single minute onto this game. And Anthony Pandazopoulos, trying to waste valuable seconds of that minute, heads into the book. And Oakley Cannons barring a goal response, the likes of which, well, I was going to say we've never seen, but we did see Penn Power score 2 in the same minute just on Sunday, the likes of which we rarely see. Oakley Cannons just about home and dry. Plummer. Trevella pass is going to miss Cato. Oakley fans yelling at the Oakley Cannons 11 to finish the game. Not sure whether that means add a 6 or run down the clock. Well, it's a moot point. The Oakley Cannons return to the Australia Cup quarters for the first time since 2015. And boy, were they made to work for it. 5-3 after extra time. A game that ebbed, flowed, twists and turns all throughout. And at the end of it, it is the NPL Victoria side who progress. And what a game we've been treated to here at Jack Edwards Harps.
Yeah, great night of cup football. It just never stopped. This one for an hour and 20 minutes. Good goals, questionable defending, which added to the theatre. Late comeback, and some quality performances from both teams, and at the front of the field and the back. Fraser Hills levelling things or getting within reach just to one attack after they'd gone 2 goals behind. A couple of other chances besides. It took that very late corner in the scramble that followed. There was a save penalty from Stent. There's Aaron Williams with the second of his efforts towards goal. Here's the mayhem that took us into extra time. It's been credited to Fraser Hills, but he's still out of the corner post. So it's not him, it's Hirayama. It is. Hirayama gets another one. Great player. One of many on show, including this guy, Guest. Scored 2, set up 1. It was just a night at Jack Edwards Reserve that was full of action and full of quality. and full of highlights to put the cup in lights. It's just a great night for the tournament, right around all 4 matches played this evening.
Just when you think it's hit its maximum, the Australia Cup has almost reached another level tonight. And the Oakley Cannons will live to see another round of Brisbane City's maiden voyage through the Australia Cup. Their return, the former NSL side, to the national stage comes to an end. But they were gallant in defeat. They played an excellent game tonight alongside Oakley. You can see in the end, Brisbane City took control of the possession. They did have plenty of decent efforts on goal, but Nick Feely produced some goalkeeping of the finest quality to deny them and guarantee his side a place in the quarterfinals. As we wrap things up at Jack Edwards Reserve. Well, don't go anywhere if you're watching on 10 Play or elsewhere. Switch over to the other available games, because looking over at your monitor harps, Adelaide United and Adelaide City going to penalties with a quarterfinal draw immediately to follow. Absolutely unbelievable stuff here tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure, but from myself, Lockie Flanagan, and from Andy Harper, as the rain pours down at Jack Edwards Reserve, we'll say goodnight to you for a final time.